The next morning, Amina woke up inside a dark room with only one window for ventilation. Her hands were tied behind and she felt sharp pains at the back of her head, where Toby had hit her the previous night. She got up and looked through the small opening and found that she was a barn inside a thick forest. She tried to wriggle free but could not. After a while, she heard Toby's voice saying, "I wonder why you did not die when we set you on fire, because that was the plan. I know my father would never let me go to jail because I'm his only son, so it was easy for me," he said with an evil smile. "I used to love you, Amina, but you refused to date me. Why would you refuse to date me? No girl has ever turned me down, but you had the effrontery to do that? You hurt me badly, and you must pay for it." In a small town nestled in the heart of Lagos, Nigeria, there was a young girl called Amina. She's a bright girl who grew up with her poor parents and four younger siblings. Amina's father, a cobbler, earns very little and he struggles day and night to feed his family. His wife, a seamstress, also makes very little from making dresses, as the people around her pay very little for her services. Many times, Amina and her siblings would go to restaurants to eat leftover foods or go to bakeries to pick trashed breads or leftover pastries. Amina would sometimes keep some of these foods in their school bags so that they would have something to eat during lunch break in school. But on days that the family did not have dinner, the kids would eat it without letting their parents know. Many nights, Amina's father would cry and pray to God, hoping that the situation changed very soon. He would often tell his first daughter, Amina, "My dear daughter, I know that things are not going well for us right now, but I want you to have faith in God and believe that one day everything will be fine. These are trying times, and standing firm and staying true to yourself in times like this will prepare you for the future." The family held on to God and they would often pray together. Amina has a lot of questions to ask her father, but she doesn't want to burden him with her own problems. She has always been a subject of ridicule among her peers and neighbors, and she did not understand why. Her friends would often make fun of her for wearing torn uniforms and bags and shoes, and they would often sing mockery songs as they followed her from school to her home. Amina would cry and cry, but she would wipe her tears when she's close to her home and pretend like everything was fine. One day, she was going home with some students when her bullies appeared from behind a tree. The other students ran off, leaving Amina behind, as she was surrounded. The bully leader, Toby, asked her to kneel down and asked her to sing the song. "I am a hopeless child, born by hopeless parents. I will always wear torn uniforms and worn shoes because I'm a hopeless child, born by hopeless parents." The kids opened some sachets of water and poured it on her as she knelt and sang, and they threatened to deal with her if she told anyone what they did. When Amina got home that evening, she told the mother that someone poured water on her by mistake while she was coming back home, and her mother did not think much of it. The next morning, Amina told the mother that she wasn't going to school because she couldn't find the second pair of her school shoes. She had hidden one of her shoes away in a nearby forest the previous day because she was tired of the constant mockery and embarrassment from her bullies. Moreover, her shoes need changing, and she believes that doing this would force her parents to get her a new pair of shoes, and the bullies will stop bullying her. But instead, her mother flogged her and forced her to go to school with the one pair. Then she warned her to bring back the other pair, or she will continue to flog her. Amina was not happy about this, but there was nothing she could do. That morning, her bullies were called out and suspended by the principal. Aminat was surprised. Unknown to her, two senior students saw how the event played out the previous day and they reported them very early the next morning. Amina was very happy about this, even though the identity of the seniors were kept hidden. As Amina closed from school that very day, the thought of going back to pick the shoes from the forest where she hid it occurred to her, but she decided against it because she wanted a new pair of shoes badly. But when she got home, she found her mother crying. When she asked her what happened, she explained to Amina that her father was hit by a car and the driver ran off. Amina began to cry as she saw her father's pitiful condition. Her father tried to make her happy by telling her to remain grateful to God regardless of any situation she finds herself in. He said, Amina, I almost died today, and the only thing that I kept thinking about was how your mother will be the sole provider for this family and how you and your siblings would survive. I do not want that to happen. After being hit by the car, I could not get up and there were speeding cars coming towards me. My only saving grace was a man who quickly stopped the vehicles to prevent them from hitting me. My life flashed right before my eyes, and I thought the end had come. But God brought an angel and saved me. Can you see that God is great? Her father narrated the story, forcing a smile. Amina was moved by her father's words and the fact that he was thinking about them when he was close to dying. At this point, Amina understood the extent of her father's love and she began to think of how to change her parents' situation and ensure that they do not continue in the circle of poverty they found themselves in. Amina was grateful to God for sparing her father's life, and she decided from that night that no one would make her feel bad for who she is or where she's coming from, because she can always change her condition in the near future. She ran to the forest that evening and quickly got the shoes she hid. She told her mother the truth about the missing shoes, and her mother began to cry. She apologized to Amina for failing her as a parent, but Amina apologized and promised her mother to be content with whatever they were able to provide for her, and she hugged her. The weeks that followed were very difficult for the family, as her father could not work effectively as he would when he was hale and hearty. Moreover, they haven't been able to treat his injury at the hospital and it began to get worse. Amina's bullies avoided her like a plague after their resumption from suspension. At this time, Amina also began to ignore anyone who crossed her path. She remained true to her resolve and did not give room for people to bully her anymore. Amina continued to pay more attention to her education despite her challenges, and she began to come at the top of her class. That year, Amina took the position as the best student in the entire school, and to her surprise, she received a new pair of shoes and uniforms as a gift. When she got home and opened the gifts, she jumped up in excitement and showed her mother and father. They hugged her and they were very happy that Amina had made them proud. Since her father could not help much, Amina sold fruits and other items at the junction for her mother during the holidays and she began to save for her new tuition. Luckily for her, she met some friendly customers who would give her tips after buying fruits. A few weeks later, the school resumed for a new term and Amina wore her new shoes and uniform proudly around the school. Amina walked happily and majestically around the school and waved to her friends and bullies. She went to meet her bullies to say hi to them just to show off her new uniform and shoes with the hope that they would stop bullying her. Everything was going on fine with Amina until one day she was on her way home when her bullies suddenly appeared from behind the trees. They surrounded her in no time and their leader moved close to her. He said to her, "You think you can just take the best position in school, buy new shoes and uniforms and show off to us? Who do you think you are? You think you can just go scot-free after getting us suspended? Well, I want to tell you that we are here for revenge and no one will find out we did anything to you. After all, we've been in the good books of our teachers for months now and no one will suspect us." Amina laughed as the boy moved closer to her. She dared Toby to do his worst and he brought out a box of matchsticks. As she saw the matchstick, Amina tried to run away, but two of the bullies held her down. One of them poured some kerosene on her and the leader lighted up the matches as Amina begged for her life. They all laughed as Amina's clothes caught fire and they ran away, leaving her to burn. Amina rolled on the floor as she burned and she kept screaming for help. A woman was coming from the stream when she heard Amina's screams. She moved closer and was shocked at the sight before her. She emptied a pot of water on Amina's burning body and quenched the fire, but Amina's body was half burnt before the woman helped her. A man was also coming from the farm and together they rushed Amina to the local hospital in the village. The woman knew Amina's mom and she was skeptical about telling her the fate that had befallen her daughter because she knows her husband is just recovering from the accident he had months ago. She was able to lure the two parents to the hospital and they screamed at the sight of Amina. A part of Amina's face was burnt and no one would easily recognize her anymore. Days later, Amina told her parents the culprits and they reported the incident at the police station. The father of the bully leader, Toby, is a chief. He offered Amina's parents some money to withdraw the case, but they told him the government has taken over the case. He gave them some more money, but they refused. Our father told him, "You expect us to collect money from you, so your child could do something worse to someone else's child, right? What if Amina had died? Will you be offering us money in exchange for our daughter's life?" After doing everything to convince Amina's parents, Toby's father left them. Days later, news broke out that Toby had committed suicide and his father accused Amina's parents of making his son to commit suicide because he was scared the police would arrest him. He kept telling the entire villagers how heartless Amina's parents were without saying anything about his son's actions. He would often tell people that Toby only acted like a teenager and if Amina's parents had forgiven him, he wouldn't have committed suicide. Amina's parents began to feel bad about Toby's death and they relocated from their home as soon as Aminat got better. The other two boys got 15 years imprisonment for attempted murder. Since they could not afford to pay for another rent, Aminat and her parents stayed with a family member who lived in a nearby village. He owns a very large farm where Amina's parents work and get paid. Their situation improved a bit while working here and they were able to save enough money for Amina's university education. Amina's skin was no longer the same, but she did not let it define her. She sat for university entrance exams and did well. 10 years after she was set on fire, Amina graduated from the university and became a doctor. But she began to have issues when it comes to getting a job because her employers always judge her by facial look. One day, she went for an interview and the owner of the hospital advised her to go for a plastic surgery if she really wants to get a good job because no one would hire a scary doctor. Your results are amazing, but you know that you have to deal with a lot of patients every day. So I would suggest that you work on your facial look and come back for the interview. I did not mean any insults. Please forgive me, the doctor said to her. Amina began to see the effect of the burns she sustained years ago due to pure hatred from her bullies and she would cry and cry. The people she met are not interested in the results, but facial looks, and she wonders why. One day, she called the mother to explain the situation to her. Her mother encouraged her not to give up, and she informed her that the other boys would be out of prison in 5 years' time because they were given 15 years of attempted murder. Hamina's anger increased as she wished the boys had felt the same pain she has felt over the years. A few months later, Hamina was finally able to secure a job in a hospital, but the doctor gave her a condition. She has to have a plastic surgery. At first, Amina did not accept the offer as she told the doctor that she's comfortable in her skin. But after giving it a thought, she decided to give it a try. Moreover, the doctor will be doing the surgery and she doesn't have to pay for anything. Amina was surprised at the results as she looked much more presentable in her new looks and she was more confident in her skin. It was also an avenue for her to show people her former looks and the present one, which attracted a lot of customers to her hospital. She worked with a plastic surgeon for a few years and saved enough money to relocate to the United Kingdom. Amina worked diligently and her employers were very happy to have her. One day, when she was attending to a patient, she noticed something familiar about the voice calling from the corridor. When he came in to meet his wife who was a patient, Amina saw Toby standing by the door. She was surprised. She did not know if her eyes were deceiving her or if she was seeing a ghost. She got up from where she was sitting and moved close to Toby. She asked him if he was Toby Atolagbe, and he replied yes. Amina was surprised. She did not understand what was going on as she kept staring at him like a ghost. Toby quickly changed his reply by telling her that she must have mistaken him for someone else. But he looked visibly shaken as he told her that he was living with his wife. And Amina knew that moment that it was the same Toby she knows. Amina did not know what to do because she has introduced herself as Amina to Toby's wife. When she got home, she called her parents to tell them that Toby was alive and well in the UK. Her parents were surprised that Toby's father accused them of killing his son while he had already relocated him to the UK. They told Amina to be careful and avoid him at all costs because they did not know the evil plan he may have up his sleeves this time. The next day, Amina got to work to find Toby waiting for her at the reception and she asked him to come in. When he did, he asked Amina if she was the same daughter of the cobbler whom he set on fire, and Amina replied in the affirmative, surprised at his effrontery. Toby laughed hysterically before continuing. He said, "You should have kept your mouth shut because I wouldn't have known it was you, but you're so dumb like always. I'm actually surprised that you could become a doctor or even step your foot in the UK. That's a big feat you achieved and I must commend you as the hopeless daughter of a cobbler that you are." Toby laughed mockingly. Amina asked him with shaking voice, "So, how did you know it was I? Your name gave you away, idiot. Did you ever think I would forget your name? Amina Badu, the naive and dumb girl who changed my life for good." Toby replied, moving close to her, but Amina took a step backwards. At this point, Amina recalled how Toby and his cohorts forced her to sing the derogatory song back in secondary school, and she forced the tear that was trying to drop back, knowing that Toby would be happy that he could break her again after so many years. He continued, "You know, I still don't understand what happened to your face, though. I'm very sure that your face was disfigured before I traveled to the UK because my father told me that you looked horrible when he visited you at the hospital and that I may have to serve a jail term for attempted murder. So what happened to your face?" Toby snickered at Amina. Amina was losing her patience at this time, but she decided to keep the conversation going to see where it leads. "Well, I had plastic surgery because my face was badly burnt and no one would hire me after what you did." Amina sniffled and banged her desk and she broke down in tears. Toby laughed out loud and replied, "Oh, poor girl, that must hurt." Amina got up from her desk at this point and sent Toby away in anger. Toby laughs as he leaves her office and he wants her to watch her back, and Amina breaks down further when he closes the door. She began to remember how much Toby and his friends tortured her and made her life a living hell years back. She was surprised that Toby had not changed one bit even though he is now an adult and married. She thought of making him pay for what he did to her, but there was no evidence and she is in a foreign country. Amina decided to let go without knowing that Toby has other plans. That night, Amina got to her apartment to find it buggered. Her home was turned upside down as furniture and fittings were destroyed. She did not know what to do. She wondered what Toby would gain from destroying her things, and she began to think of how best to handle the situation and ensure that Toby left her alone for good. She was shaken and scared of sleeping in her home. She picked up her mobile phone to call the police, but someone hit her on the head from behind and she blacked out. The next morning, Amina woke up inside a dark room with only one window for ventilation. Her hands were tied behind and she felt sharp pains at the back of her head, where Toby had hit her the previous night. She got up and looked through the small opening and found that she was a barn inside a thick forest. She tried to wriggle free but could not. After a while, she heard Toby's voice saying, "I wonder why you did not die when we set you on fire, because that was the plan. I know my father would never let me go to jail because I'm his only son, so it was easy for me," he said with an evil smile. "I used to love you, Amina, but you refused to date me. Why would you refuse to date me? No girl has ever turned me down, but you had the infantry to do that? You hurt me badly, and you must pay for it." Amina could only hear Toby's voice. She could not believe that Toby had meant it when he told her years ago to be his girlfriend. In fact, it never occurred to her that he bullied her because of that. He asked her out in junior class and the bullying started when she got to senior secondary school. She thought he bullied her because she was poor, because he always made fun of her based on her status. Amina began to beg Toby to please let her go. She told him that she wouldn't tell anyone about the past or what he's doing right now. But Toby replied, "My wife has been asking questions since the day you saw me, and the only way to prevent her from finding the truth is to kill you. I can't risk losing my marriage over a past mistake, or should I say a mistake I failed to take care of. I should have killed you at the hospital while you were recovering from the burns." Toby was angry at this point and he kicked the wall. He asked Amina to say her final prayers as he was about to set the place ablaze. "I want you to burn beyond recognition, and you're not escaping this time because I will watch you as you burn." Amina's heart began to beat fast at this point. She began to say a silent prayer as she pleaded with Toby to spare her life. But Toby did not listen. He poured fuel around the barn trying to light it up when he received a video call from his wife. He stepped out and told her that he was enjoying his camping trip with his friends and would still call her on a video call when everybody wakes up. He showed his wife how he was jogging that morning. Apparently, Toby had lied to his wife that he was on a camping trip with his friends, but he had to deal with Amina first before going back to his friends, whom he was camping with nearby. As he spoke to his wife, Amina tried harder to break free, and luckily for her, the rope came loose. She saw a small opening by the side of the barn and used her bare hands to make it wide enough for her to pass through. She ran as fast as her legs could carry her as she got out. By the time Toby got back to the barn, Amina was gone. He ran through the forest and later caught up with her when Amina thought she was free and was waiting by the road. Toby dragged her back towards the barn, but Amina kept screaming and asking for help. A young policeman was close by when he heard her screams. He traced the voice and called out, but could not hear it any longer because Toby had decided to use his plan B. He shot Amina on the chest and ran off before the police could catch up with him. He went back to meet his friends who were still sleeping at the camp by the time he got back, and he did the video call with his wife when they woke up. Luckily for Amina, the policeman got to her on time and she survived the gunshot wound and stayed in the hospital for a few weeks. When she explained what happened to her to the policeman, no one believed her story because Toby's friends defended him. After all, they thought he was with them throughout the camping nights. Toby pressed charges against Amina, but Toby's wife knew something was wrong and she decided to talk to the police. According to her, she saw Amina running off while she was on a video call with her husband and she did not think much of it. Then, when he called her with his friends on a video call, he was wearing another shirt. So when he came back, she checked his bag and found out his shirt was gone. She asked him about the shirt, but he said he gave it out to one of his friends. But when she asked his friend to give back her husband's shirt because she misses it a lot, he did not understand what she was talking about. It was then that she knew he was lying. Toby had hidden the t-shirt because it was stained with Amina's blood. Toby was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment for kidnapping and attempted murder, while Amina got out of hospital and resumed the job. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and let me know what you think in the comment section. See you next time. Bye.